And this is only a 2.4 gigahertz, so there should only be a 2.4 radio chip inside. So on each side there's cellular inputs on each side and Wi-Fi outputs, so you have 4. Now some people do buy these cases and buy a different type of modem where they might be adding, it might be a 4x4 antenna input for the modem, where this is only a 2 antenna setup. So some people do drill these cases to add extra antennas on it, but I'm not going to be doing that. All right, so there are 4 screws to this case. There's 2 on the front and 1 on each side. So we'll just get into taking that apart here. If we take a look at the motherboard here, there's a PCIe module here. This is not the M2 version, regular PCIe. And these wires are for the 2.4 gigahertz antenna for the Wi-Fi chip that's built onto this board. So this is not a 5 gigahertz board or multiple band board. So okay, so just take this out of the box or out of the bag here, rather the static bag. These are the 2 screws that come with the router itself to mount this on the motherboard. Again, this is a category 6. This is only a 2x2 MIMO here. It's not a 4x4. So probably the hardest part is going to be getting the connectors set onto this board here. And then right here, it looks like these are the taped on connectors. All right, now that we got the tape off, we can see that we have the UFL connectors for the modem here. And if we can see this here on the modem, let's try and take a look if we can get focused in on that. But you've got basically three connectors there. You have an M, a D on the outside for your main and diversity antennas, just meaning antennas 1 and 2. This is a dual antenna modem. And then the center would be if you wanted to include GPS into this for mobile applications, if you have GPS mobile tracking you want to do. So connecting these can be a bit of a challenge. I'm going to connect this before I put the modem inside the router. All right, I've zoomed in on this quite a bit here so we can take a look at these connectors. These connectors are not the easiest thing in the world to deal with here. I'll get that set on there. Make sure it feels like it's connected. And get that guy clicked on there. That's the first one. I'm going to get the second wire, make sure it's in the right orientation on the other outside connector there, and get that set. And it feels like it's set in place. Oh, I jumped off there. Yeah, it feels like it's set in place. And click that on. So that's it. They're both on. They're both free to rotate. Good connection. Right, I've adjusted the camera a little bit here for the zoom on that. Again, the connectors are on there. They're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and install the modem at an angle here. And I'm going to just set it there. I'm going to ensure that I don't crimp any of the wires from the radio on the board. And I obviously don't want to crimp any of either of the 2 wires that I just installed for the antenna. Now, again, this comes supplied with 2 screws. If you can see, the board sits at an angle like that. And I am going to just get that down flush there and install 2 screws. Definitely don't force it, don't cross thread it. I'm not going to tighten that all the way yet. Second screw, it's just as simple as that, really. That's all there is to it. I want to make sure my wires are all good. Okay, perfect, good. set that screw, set that screw, and that's it really. That's all there is to it. We'll just get a little bit of a close up here of what I got going on when I close the cover. I just want to make sure that when I close the cover that I'm aware of all the lights, that they come through the holes properly. I want to ensure that none of the wiring gets crimped in the casing and none of the wiring is bound up on anything. I wouldn't want that wire to get crimped over there as an example. Let's just make sure that's in and out of the way as I close the case cover. Good, and it's all sitting flush like it should. All right, and then I'll just come in and reinstall the 4 case screws. All right, I got the 4 case screws back in, the unit back together. Let's just take a look at the antennas. They are labeled here. This is a labeled 4G 2.4. So you got a 4G and a 2.4 labeling on them. Make sure you get them set up that way. So the 2.4s, the side of the case here is labeled, which is the Wi-Fi side, and it's just a basic SMA connection there. So I'll put these in like this. Just a little bit of touch on that. You know, if you mount this router, if it's just sitting flat on a surface, then you want to make sure, obviously, that the antennas face up. If you mount it on a wall and it's this direction here, you really want to make sure that the antennas are going up, and that's just the radiation pattern of the output of the antenna, the omnidirectional antenna. But if it's, you know, sitting flat on a flat surface, then that's going to be the orientation. Now this obviously looks like some of the other devices out there on the market. They make different aftermarket antennas that you can supply on these for either the cellular in or the Wi-Fi out. So you can play with different gain antennas, but that's basically what it looks like. And I'll get this thing flashed and set up, and we'll run a test on it with just as it sits like this.